Welcome, everyone, to the Center for Healing podcast, where we have incredible practitioners, therapists, and healers. And today I'm so excited to bring on one of our qualified practitioners, Ivana. Ivana found herself facing an impossible choice in a relationship that no longer served her. Leaving meant stepping into the unknown and facing adversity in terms of her relationship, but it also meant opening doors to new possibilities. Today, Ivana is helping other women find themselves after separation. She combines her personal experience with powerful tools, trauma healing techniques, and coaching to help women find themselves after separation. She's a student of ours who is qualified in the root cause therapy certification and the trauma-informed manifestation coaching certification. So I just wanted to give you a warm welcome, Ivana. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Hi, Melissa. To everyone
Welcome.
who's listening.
And for our listeners that might not know about you, could you tell us a little bit about your story and what led you to the point of becoming a coach and a
The
healer?
breakthrough. Yeah. So I have a series of failed relationships. In last 5 years, it would be 2 failed relationships. And from each of them, I have a daughter. And I caught myself feeling like it's a cycle, and then I'm repeating the same thing. So I was already on that journey of self-discovery and asking myself deep questions. Where can I be better? But I also find that there was a lot of fog, disconnection, and I couldn't work out what am I doing wrong. That was just something which I couldn't put a finger on. And I was listening to podcasts, I was setting the intentions, visualizing and affirmations and all this work because I just wanted the perfect family. And I had this vision of, am I asking for too much? And then fill up the gaps like unlovable, not perfect, I'm breaking relationships. So a lot of the self-discovery actually, and I think the breakthrough was when I was listening to a podcast and a therapist who was talking about boundaries and how empathetic people sucking in other people's emotions, and then in a search of healing or soothing other people's emotions, they actually neglect their own. And something about what she was saying, I felt called to have a chat to her and start cleaning my life in terms of feeling my feelings and not feeling other people's feelings. And she helped me, and that was the embodied process and a bit of a timeline healing as well, going back to the childhood, going back to why do I feel that other people's are more important than me? Why do I feel that I have to save the world and not save myself? And through that, I found the courage to, start changing what was outside. Until then, I wasn't able to, because feeling like I'm responsible for everyone kept me stuck, because my world was very small and I could not handle the discomfort of saying no or being angry. So there was very new emotions to me, and that's what actually came back to as with what I needed. That's what was missing part. And the safety in the body to feel those emotions and learning what they are finally fixed the compass, and I stopped feeling lost. And
as like I have a similar story, like where I kept attracting these toxic relationships and accepting certain behaviors, but then obviously it wouldn't work out, and you're trying to control and manage other people's emotions around you because for some reason however they were feeling really affected how we were feeling, and so it's like an unconscious manipulation that we do. Would you mind sharing a little bit about when you were doing that embodied processing and when you were doing that timeline work, what kind of, whatever you feel comfortable to share, just generally, what kind of events or patterns or attachment issues happened that came for you that were affecting your relationships, causing you to be like that?
So one of the big one was my inability to feel anger. And when I told her what happens to me, she's like, okay, do you feel it here? Do you feel the anger? Do you feel about like you want to speak up? And it's just like, nope, there's nothing in my body I can feel. So I was totally shut down to any signs of anger. That's why I let some people to violate my boundaries, because totally like unaware of where I am and where other people are.
Can I just add there
yeah.
that we need anger to have boundaries? Like,
Mhm.
anger's not a bad thing. It's just we shut it down, and you'll probably explain because we were told maybe our family culture was not to be angry, or whenever we be angry, we were told to shut it down. It became not safe. What was your experience with that? What came through?
It was me feeling scared of being punished. So I
Wow.
went down to hiding under my bed, and my mom was angry. And because she was angry, I was scared of her. I was scared of also of my own anger. And instead of feeling the anger, I would try different strategies like the people pleasing or hiding and disconnecting with my body, because I was scared of that emotion. I was scared that I would lose it, that I would go that angry, that I would hurt someone, or that I would just shout and just be uncontrollable. So for me, it was the fear of expressing the anger because I was feel to be punished for it.
Wow.
So
And you brought that into your relationships and into adulthood. And what did that, so that you were touching on, it did like add in your romantic relationships,
yeah,
inability to say no or say that's not okay, like the way that you're treating me. Was it kind of those?
even inability to know when I'm angry. So I was cool as cucumber in a conflict, and it's really hard because the stress response where you froze and disconnect with your body is really hard to put a finger on,
Mm.
and hard to speak up, but also hard to like notice I'm in it, because you go, okay. And then the default reaction after I would unfreeze would be people pleasing rather than expressing the anger. So I would skip the healthy reaction and go into either frozen, like feeling like I'll just wait for you to calm down, then we can talk. But as soon as we would talk, it would be the people pleasing, because that to me was healthy or more comfortable than saying what I want, because I skipped like what I want. I went to what we want. And if the other partner is louder in their desires, then I would neglect my needs and agree to what wasn't for me, because
And I guess that really like
feedback and body.
unconsciously enables their behavior and
Mhm.
instills their behavior, because not only are you not creating a boundary and saying it's not okay, you're then like making it like a really positive thing for them and getting, yeah, what they want, like doing the people pleasing.
Yeah. And you think you're doing the right thing because the conflicts now disappears. You feel good because they feel good. You attach to their nervous system and you just soothe their and regulated their experience. So this is awesome. We can do this. But by not knowing what's right for you or not having that feedback with your body, it's really hard. And then soon you get yourself in a very uncomfortable situation when you no longer can go along with such a dynamics. And the other thing I want to mention actually learn is, if you do not have those conflicts and the anger on outside, you turn the anger against yourself, and then you beat yourself for your situation, your reactions. You have a very loud critical voice because the anger is still there. Like, it doesn't disappear just because you please someone, but you have that very angry voice kept in your body. There's a side effect. We can become resentful. We can become angry at people we don't feel scared to be angry with, like our children or people we're safe with. So that could also be that we're directing the anger towards the places where we feel safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
To express it.
Wow. And when you say, yeah, we directed at ourselves, like two things come to mind. It's like you're still reliving your inner child being yelled at by her mother, and part of you hiding under the bed. Like that's still happening internally until you address that, become aware of that and process that. And that could reflect in your parenting. And again, unconsciously, like you don't mean to do it, but unfortunately, yeah, we don't process it. That can happen where because we can't hold space for our own anger when our children get angry or have a tantrum. it's, oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that. And then we naturally will pass that parenting down. Did you find that, and being on the other side of that, were there any realizations around that?
Yeah, the parenting is another area where you have to start living consciously. So the breakthrough originally was in the romantic relations, just as you said, that opened my eyes. And then it does lead to, I want to be a better person. I want to change the generational cycle and I want to be different. But at the same time, you have natural reactions. Like you do tend to repeat what you witnessed, and you do tend to have same fears as your parents had because fear was not allowed to feel. Now am scared to see my children being angry, that I can't handle it, that I can't be with them. But the consciousness and the awareness is what helps us to transform it into something different. So yeah, that's just another type of relationship where you can become aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's incredible. It's
Mm.
amazing. Thank you so much
Mm.
for sharing. And you focus on helping women post breakup, separation, divorce
Mhm.
to find themselves. Do you think when that does happen, and it was for you, it can be a real catalyst for healing, and it can be a real catalyst to finding yourself? And how has the other side looked for you, and how do you support women? What do you often see with that?
Mhm. So there is a lot of things, especially if it is a toxic relationship where we have the aftermath. So breakup does bring and heighten emotions and emotions we did not have capacity or were not prepared to feel. It could be grief we didn't feel before. There could be, yeah, the anger, the sense of betrayal, the sense of I'm unlovable, and lots of other ones which are all in sudden triggered. And some of them might be old wounds, and some of them might be created in this last relationship. So very often when it's the toxic relationship, there's another bundle of afterthoughts which we have to go through and heal as well. So sometimes it's going back to childhood, sometimes other new wounds. How would I explain this? It could be a confidence, because the confidence was sometimes, whether intentionally or unintentionally, targeted as
Mm,
you can't live without me, or you can't make it on your own, or no one without me, or this trauma bond causes that we might feel not trusting ourselves. So that is
absolutely.
often wound which has to be addressed as first. So yeah, that's an example of the first one to look at when someone's experienced the breakup or separation, just to bring back up the self-trust. And it comes through little changes and the fact that you can rely on yourself as long as you have connection to your body, to your intuition, that you have the trust that I don't screw up, or I can even then trust people because I have the sense of I know what's good for me. And if it's not, that I'm
Mm,
strong to walk away from that.
yeah.
And that just comes through the healing. It's not there on the first day. So
Yeah, I
those,
do. I find that naturally, like when you start the healing work, your standards go up for what you would accept. Whereas like previous to when I did healing work, and I've seen this with clients and students, it's you will see red flags early on and ignore them because maybe even the red flags are so attractive because it's a recreation of trauma you haven't resolved from the past. So, oh,
yeah.
you remind me of one of my abusive parents. And so when you do healing, that naturally goes away where you wouldn't even, you'll be aware of the red flags and just not accept that behavior. And it's the difference between people and the way they were nurtured growing up often, where someone grew up in a really healthy home, someone grew up in an unhealthy home. And I know for me, I grew up in an unhealthy environment. So I would look at people in just normal relationships that weren't using drugs, that were just
Mm.
like looking after themselves. And I'm like, I couldn't understand why they were like that and why I was the way that I was. But through doing the healing work and the awareness, I was able to then attract a really great relationship where there's respect and love. Do you find that, so you've got your post-breakup healing where you might have to heal the PTSD from the relationship
Yeah.
itself and then
Yeah.
go even deeper into like
Yeah.
childhood and why we accept those relationships in the first place. But then also, do you support women when they get into new relationships and trusting the new relationship and trusting that it's a healthy
Mm.
relationship and navigating more triggers coming up from past relationships?
Yeah, that's a very complex question, actually. I have 3 stories already lined up.
Yeah, go for it.
Red flags, yeah, definitely. And they're hard to spot for people, just as you said, who like for me on the other side of healing, it felt like finally I know what they are, because before the world was gray, like black and white. And if someone's told me like red flag, and in my black and white world, like it didn't look red. So it's very hard to experience, but that's how it felt to me. And after healing, I was like, oh, that's what everyone's now talking about. And I could see them everywhere. Now I was more aware. Now I could actually recognize and act on it, and felt more empowered that I will not have the same experience again, because that was initially the fear, because you don't want to repeat the same mistake. Yeah, a lot of research, a lot of healing got me to the place that, yeah, my ex-partner wouldn't last the first date. Like now I know straight away, but back then I didn't. So red flags are important, and I feel like it comes natural. Like even though we can give a list, it comes natural that you do have more awareness of what are the early stages, the love bombing, or and
Yes, I'll just
mm-hmm,
interrupt before you
mm-hmm,
answer. Sorry if it's sidetracking, but with healing work, the crux of it is we start to have so much self-love internally that we don't accept
yeah,
anything below that, and that's where the boundaries come in. So the more you heal, the more you're like, "Oh, that's not something like I'm a person that loves myself. That's not aligning with that, how I'm being treated right now," and trusting how you feel internally more than what they're doing. Yeah, that's just a little side note, but continue.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And the other thing is sometimes when you're stepping into a new relationship, and I say that even though none of clients which I onboarded for the healing are not at the dating stage yet, but you do have to be careful. And the sign of your healthily ready for a new relationship is that you can say your emotions from theirs. If you're still
Mm.
entangled, your reaction triggers him, and you take it as, oh, I said too much, then you still responding to other people's triggers. So when you're able to tell apart what's mine and what's not mine, then I feel like you're on a good path of being able to stand strong when it's not your stuff, and give opportunity to other person to resolve their triggers, and not taking responsibility for everyone's feelings and triggers if they're not yours. So that's a sign of being ready for the relationship
Oh, I think
in the
that's so
future.
powerful.
Mm.
Wow. And I think that, yeah, it does come back to enmeshment, like you said,
Mm.
because we needed that strategy to survive when we were children. But now
Mhm.
that we're adults, some people are still playing out the mechanism of, I need them to be emotionally okay in order for me to survive, when actually you're an adult and you'll perfectly survive if they're angry at you and don't want to buy you dinner. Like you'll be fine. And things like, for me, a few indicators were, would I be okay if they broke up with me tomorrow? Or am I placing too much on them? Do I feel safe to fully be myself and silly me from the start?
Mm.
Or am I like changing myself to try and adjust to what they like?
Yeah.
And do I feel safe to just speak my thoughts around them, and can they hold that safely? That those are the three major things for me that was the opposite when I was in the toxic relationship. So I made it, okay, if someone still hangs around when I'm
Mhm.
completely myself, that I'll be okay if they left, not okay, like I'll grieve, but I don't fully solely rely on them for my self-confidence and my self-love, for my sense of worth. I don't care what other people think if they left me tomorrow. I have a very solid relationship with myself. Yeah, those are my kind of benchmarks for going, am I going into a healthy
Yeah.
relationship?
Yeah. 100%. I just want to also say that sometimes we enter with this intention, but if
Mhm.
someone's very clever, they bring the control later on, not at the start. So it could be also
Mhm.
very paced, very subtle, and the changes are invisible. So I just want to bring the trauma informed part into it as well. It's not your fault you didn't see it. It's not that you are not healed enough, intelligent enough, or pay attention enough. Sometimes there are people who just outsmart you and don't bring it straight away. So the advice for everyone who's not sure is just go slow, because the longer you're with the person, you have to see the consistency, not just the words, but the words and the action match. And maybe at the beginning it does match, but does it in a year, 2 years, 3 years? And you have to be prepared to walk away at any time, not in first 6 months, not in first 6 years, but any time there is a discrepancy between what the person does and say. No matter how long they hold it together to pretend or to love bomb you or to get your trust, and then they stop being consistent. Yeah.
And I think
So
that's such good advice because, you know, for me personally, I would rush into relationships because it's like I didn't even get to know the person and I was just jumping in and then getting the ick later when I was realizing the person. But if you take your time, your insecurities might come up like, oh, if I don't go all in, maybe they don't want to be with me. But the right person will give you the time and space, and you can work with someone with Ivana where stuff will come up, like your insecurities will come up, your trauma.
hypervigilance.
Hypervigilance will come up.
Hmm.
Why aren't they messaging me back? We're working
Hmm.
through that with a practitioner, having someone hold space for you in the background to help you
Hmm.
navigate and maybe see blind spots, or you might
Hmm.
share things that there are discrepancies in their behavior and their words. It can be really helpful to have some kind of support like that to give you another angle and yeah, just make sure that it's not a repeating pattern.
Yeah, this situationships, it seems to be like a word of a century where people even don't know if they're dating or not, or if the other side wants to a committed relationship or doesn't. And if we settle for the breadcrumbs, then we're giving ourselves a big disservice if that's not what you want or what you desire at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say are the main energetic or feeling differences of, if you could give it some words, of being in a not great relationship or a toxic relationship versus a healthy relationship? From
Mm.
your experience, how did it feel different for you?
Toxic relationship has a cycle. It's a cycle of the good and bad. And actually, that's another thing which is very misunderstood. Like, we feel like they're bad, but they're bad just half of the time, half of the whole, sometimes, or 10% of the time, they're great. And you feel like you want that little bit of a sweetness again. And that's why you keep playing, because there is a little bit of awesome in it as well. No one would stay if it wasn't. So sometimes it's the hope, sometimes the dreams, promises, sometimes it's the love bombing phase. And there's just enough in it for you to go another round. So it does feel like a cycle, like on a carousel. And if you're noticing the same things and you're going round and round, then it's toxic. There are conflicts and disagreement in every relationship, but the toxic one has this pattern, and it also plays in, yeah, in this cycle. So it's repetitive and it feels like a ride.
An
And it
emotional ride
triggers,
as well.
yeah, it
Mm.
triggers your stress responses. So that over a long time stress response, like hanging you in the stress response, makes you feel like you're living in a fog. You can't concentrate, you can't have clarity, you feel disoriented, disassociated with your body. You no longer know what's your emotion, what's theirs. It's a brain fog. That's how I describe it. It's really hard to know what's your mission, what's your purpose, what would you like to do, what would you like to eat, what are your desires and needs. And a lot of the time, like, there's this thing which is also spin up as a way of manipulating you, is a thing called cognitive dissonance. And that's where me feeling or having a wound around being a good mom, someone can trigger that, oh, but good mom wouldn't do it. So that
Wow.
brings the guilt, and from me feeling the guilt, I would do anything because I'm fighting internally. Okay, but I am a good mom, so that means I do have to do that. If someone plays that a game with you as to trying to make you to do what works for them, then it's not a healthy relationship. Where the healthy relationship is the one where you're not stressed all the time, where you're not triggered by giving someone's favor or going the ways they require. And the clarity is the main difference for me, I feel.
I love that. You feel like in terms of, and it doesn't just have to be toxic relationships. I
Mhm.
think it's for all relationships,
Yeah.
even work relationships and friendships and everything. It's you're more connected to your inner reality than trying to manipulate your whole outer reality. You're more connected to your intuition and you feel more solid in saying yes and no. Like it feels safe to say yes and no. Over time, it can feel safer to do healthy conflict and bring things up when they're happening, so it's not getting pushed under the rug. And to I feel like I was saying earlier, like it's safe to speak your truth with them without getting attacked or gaslit or
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
cognitive
Yeah.
dissonance. There's an honor. There's
Mhm.
a respect and an honor for your world where we have a can hold space and respect their world. And like you said right at the start, where we can have 2 different emotions. One person can be happy and one person can be sad, and the whole house doesn't have to feel like sad, or the whole house doesn't have to feel depressed just because that one person is. We can all be empathetic, but not enmeshed. And I think, yeah, honoring each other as individuals, respecting each other, holding each other's dreams for each other, and but individually as well, seeing as an individual person, not just someone that serves you or has to make you happy, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a natural outcome of the healing, because when you realize your own source of happiness, love, then you don't need anyone else to feel that in order to be okay. You can accept that someone's angry at your reaction. You can accept that you made someone disappointing when you walk away. And that's okay. And that's okay with me, because I have my own source of happiness, calm, and then it happens less. It happens less in a love relationship and a business relationship. And I think that's a result of the healing and the fact that you can sit with your emotions. You know what, yeah, are your emotions, and the safety in your body brings the higher capacity to handle the healthy conflict or the internal conflict or set your boundaries. So yeah, it's down to the healing. So then the healthy relationship around you are more like the reflection of the healthier relationships yourself with yourself, I think.
Absolutely.
So it
And then there are
starts with
gonna be
us.
people, yeah, in your life that when you start to change and evolve and do the healing work, and some of you listening might resonate with this if you've been doing the healing work for a while, it's you've almost trained them that they can treat you a certain way, that you'll do certain things to them. And then as you start to evolve and change through the healing work and start to have different boundaries and different things that you accept in your relationships and different way
Mhm.
that you like approach conflict, or maybe you stop drinking alcohol, like there can be so many changes that can really make people panic because you're a certain person in their mind. So you've got to also be aware that people might get funny with you for a little bit as you evolve, and you've got to be okay with that and know it's for the greater good and hold space for them and not try to change people or push them to heal. It's just be an inspiration, keep doing the work, keep having someone support you like Ivana who has been there and can help you like navigate that and the inevitable triggers that will come up post separation and
Mhm.
breakup. Whether it's you're taking a year or two to yourself to rekindle the relationship with yourself, take yourself on dates, do the healing
Mhm.
work, work with all your inner children, your inner teenager, whatever it is, and then also navigating with your children. But that's a side note for women that are listening that have children. What would you say to them about? I feel like I've seen quite a few people like not want to leave a toxic relationship out of convenience or fear of losing their home, poverty, of because their self-esteem is so low, they can't feel like they can find someone else. Maybe they haven't started the healing work yet, or it's very early on, and they keep going back to them. And we know that we're modeling for our children what a relationship looks like, and it's not the best when we're modeling like an unhealthy relationship. But any advice you would have for people in that situation that they have fear of leaving or they keep going
Yeah.
back?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. step one is to bring the conflict with safe people. And for me, it meant with a counselor, for example. I knew she's trained and she will be able to hold the space. And I said, I have to start somewhere. I'm too afraid to bring the conflict with someone I'm scared of. How about if I bring the conflict with someone I'm not scared of? So that just taught me how it can be resolved and also how a healthy reaction looks like in a conflict. And if it looks differently, then maybe their hurt part plays up, or their automatic response, or their wound protection is now activated. So they disagree or fight back or become very arrogant or aggressive, whatever. Like, that's their wound. But the thing is, like, we cannot change how they react. We can only work on ourselves. So whether someone has the courage to leave or have the courage to stay, because they both require courage. And everyone's in a different situation. My situation was that I had to leave, and I had to leave very quickly and leave literally everything behind. I had one bag and stayed at the women's shelter with my 8-month-old baby. But everyone's situation is different. So sometimes you have to consider the kids have to keep going to school. Sometimes it is just too hard, or you don't feel like you have the support to do that. And sometimes it's not as bad. It's not everyone has to just run away with no belongings. So it's up to you, and you're the person to decide. But you have to decide from the healthy you, from the fear of being alone being resolved, fear of bringing up conflict being healed. You have to do it from empowered place rather than from a space of fear. So I would always help someone to heal the relationship with themselves and to clear the limiting beliefs, maybe through a root cause therapy, so they can do empowered decision rather than, one which is scared.
And I just really want to add this. There's nothing wrong with you, and it's not your fault that you're in a toxic relationship. I just really want to make that clear. I don't want, it's like another layer of it's your fault that you
Yeah,
probably already were
attracted.
getting or are getting. It's
Mhm.
more of you're amazing and wonderful and worthy of the most incredible love, and you've just forgotten that along the way somehow. And doing the healing work can allow you to remember that and connect with those parts, and really know that you're worthy of being treated incredibly and with respect. And so that's what it's about. It's not approaching it with you need to be fixed. It's approaching it of you've just forgotten how amazing you
Yeah.
are. When you look at your children, you're like, oh my God, they're incredible. You were also a child, and like you are also incredible. And all those bumps and bruises that we get along the way, whether it was someone else or whether it was you're in a minority or whether bullying at the workplace, whatever it is, it's only getting to you because you've forgotten about those incredible parts of yourself. I just want to make that really clear for people that are listening.
Yeah, no one deserves abuse, or no
Right.
no one deserves a mistreatment. We all were born the same innocent way, and that's to deserve love and respect in an equal way.
Mm, absolutely. Before we wrap up today's chat, are there any other examples from your own experience or from client experience, just really general, that you can share that maybe people listening and they're not in the place to be able to invest in therapy right now or coaching, but just some common patterns that you've seen, maybe from generational or childhood experiences that can show up in in ourselves or within the relationships that people can just maybe journal on or contemplate on?
Yeah, I was thinking that's a very helpful question.
Take your time.
I recently started discovering that the internal war, the internal critique, or the internal argument which is happening inside of you is very energetically expensive. Like, when you're draining yourself, it doesn't matter whether you're criticizing yourself for overeating or reaching out for alcohol or whatever it is to soothe yourself. Like, even navigating that internal war or conflict is has to be done with gentleness and with understanding, and more like inviting both of those parts, one which is really strongly not, let's not do it, you're bad if you're doing that, and the one which is, but I can't help myself, just invite those two parts of you which are arguing and which are at war with each other to start bringing them closer to each other and understanding why they are the way they are, because they very likely to be hurt. So just, yeah, make that little journey inside. And yeah, it could be through journaling or just through sitting and listen to each side of the story, why they are the way they are.
Yeah, because unhealed just means there's parts broken, like it's not unionized, it's
Not
not too far.
witnessed.
So yeah, there will be
Hmm.
conflicting parts. And like you said, like compassion is key when you approach this work, especially if you're doing self-healing. Be compassionate with yourself that you're beating yourself up. Be compassionate with yourself that maybe you yelled at your kids. Be compassionate with yourself that you are allowing certain behaviors, and that opens a safe doorway to start exploring it instead of going, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep doing that? Which is basically what you said. And that will also enable you to start to hold space for maybe, like you said, people that you have power over, like your children or people that work for you or people that you feel safe and close with, like your own parents. Realize that, yeah, maybe you've taken things out on them. And as you start to heal yourself, you can start to heal the relationships with them. Like it's not too late. Also for your children to start to heal their bond with you if you feel like that's been broken as well. And so, yeah, I think it's wonderful. And whether, yeah, you sign up with someone or just start to do self-healing, it's again, it comes back to what you're saying in the beginning. It's starting that conscious awareness, and that's really the start of healing your life, becoming just starting to become aware. It's not like you can heal everything in 8 weeks or something like that, but it is like you can start to unravel and create that beautiful relationship with yourself, which will overflow into your relationships. And like you said, it'll attract different dynamics naturally.
Yeah,
You heal those dynamics within yourself and all your parts.
I agree. Nicely said. Yeah, yeah.
I love that. If someone wants to reach out to you, Ivana, and we will have the links below in the show notes. But you do have a free offer that we're going to link down below in the show notes. Could you speak to us a little bit about that free offer that you're offering our listeners?
Yeah. It's 5 steps to bounce back after breakup. Where do I go through the process and some tools for each of the steps where you are. So it's nice to know, and there's no pressure to do all of this 5 steps in 1 week, but just to know where you are and what could be some tools to help you to go to the next stage or move to a next step. So that could be found on my website or in the show notes links. And I'm also creating 7 love letters, which targeting the 7 wounds we often experience as post breakup. So that's also something lovely, which I created for people who are healing after breakup or separation. And the
Amazing.
website is, yeah, ivanacare.com.
Yeah, so I'll just spell it out because I know some people might be in
Mhm.
their car and may not have access to the show notes. So it's IVANACARE.com. So you can find her there, but you can also find her on Instagram as well. So at Ivana_care coach on Instagram. And we'll link her Facebook page below as well. But yeah, if you type in Ivana Care Coach on Facebook or Google, you'll find her as well. I just want to say thank you so much for your beautiful and insightful words of wisdom and advice to the listeners today. Is there any last things that you'd like to say? Any other words of wisdom before we close off today's call?
Just that there is nothing wrong with you. It's just a part which got hurt, but it could be healed. So there is a hope for everyone.
Amazing. Thank you
Mm.
so much. And again, the details are below if you'd like to reach out for her, if you need some support. And if you're interested in taking one of the certifications, we'll have that link below as well. And hope you have a beautiful morning or evening wherever you are listening from in the world. Thank you and goodbye.